it once too. Yeah,
Me too.
I'm
How
pretty
was
sure.
it?
So like for me, it was, I didn't even know I had it. I think I got it before we were like totally aware of what the fuck was happening. Because I remember like being at a,
I remember it was like the beginning of,
yeah, because I remember like, man, I remember it happening.
I said, get
like
away.
This is me sort of like recounting the COVID experience. I remember being at a bar, and at the bar, it had been like 2 weeks of like spring break. They had done spring break, and then they were like, this shit's happening. We're going to extend it another week. And I was like, fuck yeah, like this is hype for me. So I was at a bar with one of my friends, and I remember like checking my email because it must have been maybe like a Saturday or Sunday, and I was like, fuck man, I have to go back to school this next week. And I got an email, and they were like, oh, like we're going to like cancel school indefinitely.
Damn.
And I was like, let's get another shot.
Let's get another shot.
No, I was like, fuck. And I think that may have been in like March or something like that. I remember being at kind of like early in the months. And so as time went on, I think in May is when I like contracted it.
Yeah, because you're supposed to go to work. And
yeah. And I didn't
COVID
know.
or AIDS?
Well, I already had one of them. So I'm not going to say which one. No, and so I remember like getting really, really sick and just being like, fuck, like, you know, I'm super sick, like whatever, blah, blah. And dude, it was like knock you the fuck out sick. Like I was like bedridden, bro. Like I have this like memory of like laying in bed, and I just like writhed around in bed for hours, you know, awake, just like sick as fuck. And I remember like staring at my ceiling fan, and I was like, I want to turn that shit on so bad. And I like cannot get up, bro. Like
that's COVID.
Yeah.
That's COVID.
And I was like sitting there, and I think, you know, like 6 hours later, I was like, I just like fucking went and like
everything you
yeah,
had.
bro, for real. Like slapped the light switch and like came straight back to bed, and I was like, fuck. And I was like, all right. And then I just like knocked out, and then I got a little better. I remember I thought I was totally good, and I went outside to work on my car. I like working on my car a lot, so I was like gonna change the brakes and spark plugs, like normal ass shit, bro. Yeah. And I remember like turning wrenches and being like, dude. Yeah, dude. And I remember I was out with my dad, and he was like, go inside. And I was like,
fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I was like, all right, bye. Like I'm not fucking doing this. Yeah. So that's how like my experience was with it. And then I remember getting the vaccination because I had to, because I was working in the healthcare field. And so I had to get it. And I remember I got sick like after it was just one day. But it was the exact same. And that's when I was like, oh, that's what was wrong.
You're like, that makes sense.
Yeah, I had COVID. Yeah. How was it for you, Edwin?
Oh, for me, it was just like a regular fever, man. Really? I was just like ready to go back to work the next day.
Yeah.